What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the All In Woodsman. Today we are back in the state of Georgia after spending some time in Gulf Shores, and today I realized there's something I've been missing over the last several weeks, and that is barbecue. So now that the weather's nice, we're gonna fire up the Pit Boss 1150 just for the sake of it and throw us on a rack of ribs, and I'm gonna show you a recipe that you're definitely gonna wanna try next time you cook ribs. Y'all stick around and let's find out. All right, so we now have a fire going in our fire pit down here, or our fire box. So I'm going to close off my grill grates. On the 1150, you want to leave those open until you get a good fire burning. We close that off, and then I'm going to come down here. We're going to set it to 225. We're going to let that come to temperature. We're going to throw the ribs on. At this point, we're going to go ahead and close this down so it can start gathering that temperature up. And there we go. Okay, so I strapped the GoPro on. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit better angle as to how we're gonna prepare these ribs. We've got the ribs out on our cutting board. I've already taken the package off and got all the juice out. I'm just gonna take a paper towel, and we're just going to kind of dab off any extra moisture that is on these ribs. We're gonna flip them over, do the same thing. Dab these ribs off. That way you don't have any more of that moisture from the package. We're going to add some moisture into them a little bit later, so we're going to do that. And then now to prepare these ribs, I have a different seasoning that I normally make my own seasoning, but today I had the recommendation of using this Heath Riles barbecue and grill honey chipotle rub. So this is going to be the rub that we're going to put on it, and then we're going to have a little bit different combination as we go through. But the strategy we're going to do is we're going to take this rub. So now that we've patted these ribs dry, we're going to cover it with our dry rub, the honey chipotle rub. Then what we're going to do is we'll go put it on the smoker at 225, just like this, with the dry rub on it for about 2 hours. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pull them off, wrap them in aluminum foil. And once we wrap them with aluminum foil, at that point we're going to just grab any liquid you want. I use cherry Coke because I like the cherry flavor as well as the sugar content of this. It really adds good flavor to your ribs. But you can use any liquid that you want and flavor that you like combination wise. What you're going to do at that point is then you're going to steam those ribs for another 2 hours with this liquid inside the aluminum foil. So I'm going to use cherry Coke, and then today I had a recommendation to try and add a little bit of this Tiger Sauce hot sauce. It's a sweet and spicy hot sauce. So I'm going to add this to the cherry Coke as it steams for those 2 hours to add a little more heat to it. So we're going to give that a try today as well. And then last but not least, after those 2 hours on the smoker, we're going to pull them off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull them out of the aluminum foil, and we're going to do a mixture of this Heath Riles barbecue sauce, the tangy vinegar barbecue sauce, as well as his sweet barbecue sauce. So we're going to do a combination of about 50-50 on these sauces, and then we're going to baste these ribs, put them back on for another hour, let it kind of get tacky. We'll pull them off, and they're going to be delicious. So all right, let's get these things seasoned up while the smoker is coming to temperature. This rub smells really good. Like I said, it's my first time using it, but I love trying new rubs just because once you find one you really like, you kind of get stuck in a routine of using the same one over and over again. But today we're going to try this one out. So I patted it dry, took all the moisture off, and so basically what I'm going to do is I don't use any type of binding agent for these ribs. I just use the moisture from the ribs themselves. So I take off any extra moisture, and then I just do a nice heavy coat of my seasoning, making sure that all of the exposed meat gets seasoning, especially around your points and your edges, to make sure you kind of lift them up. And we're going to flip them over here in just a second. But what I do is then I pick them up and I just let any seasoning that wants to fall off. So I basically put as much seasoning as the ribs themselves will hold. Last but not least, one thing that I forgot to do before with these is there's a membrane here on the ribs, and I use a butter knife is what I use, just because it's got a nice dull point on it. And I kind of run along one of these bones. You just want to kind of get that membrane to pop up. Then once you start getting it to pop up, then we're just going to pull that membrane off. And what this does is it just allows the meat to be even more tender when we get done cooking. You don't have to take this membrane off, but I just have found that the ribs, when you get done with them, are way better if you take this membrane off. And so what I do is I just get a nice little point started, and then at that point you can just get your fingers in there and start pulling. And that's going to, once you get it going, it should come off relatively easy. I've had some ribs before that it does not come off very easily, but just work your fingers through. And then once you get it through on both sides, then it really becomes easy, because you just kind of work your fingers back to one end. There we go. And then you just grab it, pull this off. And again, if you don't get all the membrane off, it's not the end of the world. Like for instance, this end down here, sometimes it's hard to get all the membrane off, but you just want to pull that membrane off if you can. That way you don't have that membrane on the back of your ribs when you go to eat them. Makes it a little easier to eat the meat. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue. We're going to continue seasoning the backside of these ribs. Some people say you don't need to season the backside of these ribs, but I'm going to be honest with you. I season almost every part of my ribs just because I want as much flavor, especially when you take that membrane off. So now the temperature's getting close. Man, love the smell of that smoke. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to get our ribs onto the smoker. We're gonna let it finish coming up to temp with the ribs on. A little extra smoke is not gonna hurt them, that is for sure. So we're gonna take these ribs, we're just gonna place them right there in the middle of our smoker, and we're gonna let them go. First check's gonna be at 2 hours, and that's when we're gonna add our aluminum foil and our moisture. All right, so what I've done now is I've just taken a couple rolls of a roll of aluminum foil and rolled out my aluminum foil. And because I have one sheet of aluminum foil is not enough to wrap all the way around my ribs, what I did was I just created 2 layers and then creased them together and folded them over and crinkled it down the middle, hoping that will hold the liquid in. I did do 2 layers on this because a lot of times the bones will start protruding and it'll actually poke holes into your aluminum foil. And this is some of the cheaper, a little bit cheaper aluminum foil, so I wanted to try to maximize my chance of not having those bones poke through this aluminum foil. So I've got this ready. It's all crinkled, ready to go. I'm gonna walk out, grab the ribs, bring them in, and I'll bring you guys back. All right, there they are. Look at that. We're sitting at 2 hours right now. They've been on the smoker. They're just getting that good smoke flavor imparted on them. There we go. All right, so we got them in our aluminum foil. So now what we're gonna do is I simply take my aluminum foil, grab both sides, and I'm gonna kind of crinkle this down over them. You don't want it to be too tight, but you want to create a good seal so the steam stays in. So on this side, I'm going to go ahead and close it up. Just crinkle that down so that totally seals off this end. Now what I'm going to do with this end is, as we get closer to the top, I'm going to kind of separate this. So there you go. So now you've got kind of an open channel here, and we're going to add our cherry coke for our liquid to kind of steam these. And then we're also going to try, like I said before, adding our tiger sauce, hot sauce in here as well. So what we're going to do now is this is going to be the steaming process to steam these ribs in the cherry coke and the hot sauce for another 2 hours. So let's get the cherry coke and everything poured in. I'm going to try my best to show you guys this process. Let's get this opened up. All right, so what I do, especially if you're working by yourself, is make sure this is kind of tipped up so that it doesn't spill all over your kitchen. Then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pour some of this in like so. And this is where you test to see how your seal on your aluminum foil was. And I just pour enough in there so that it covers the bottom of the ribs. And then what we're gonna do is, because I forgot to do it, is we're gonna just uncrinkle this real quick. And what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna toss some of this hot sauce right on top of the ribs. All right, so we got the tiger sauce. I'm just gonna drizzle that straight over the ribs. And that's gonna seep down into that Coke and just steam that flavor into the ribs. So what I'm hoping, now we're gonna crinkle this back up and we're gonna close off this end just like we did the other end. And then now we're gonna go put it back on the smoker for another 2 hours. All right, there we go. We've got them on the smoker. I did have one hole that poked through when I lifted it up to put it on the smoker. So what I did was I just created another little boat underneath it just to keep that from leaking all over my smoker. So we're gonna go for 2 more hours. That'll put us at 4 hours total. And then the next step's gonna be saucing them up, glazing them up, and letting them get tacky on the smoker. So we'll see you guys back in 2 hours. Okay, so we're at the 4 hour mark. We're gonna open this thing up, pull them out of the aluminum foil, put them back on the smoker, and we're gonna glaze them up with our sauce. All right, let's see. There we go. We got some fog on the lens. All right, so you wanna be careful. Sorry, I dropped my oven mitts. You wanna be careful pulling this out because it is gonna be hot. The aluminum foil may not be super hot, but it's going to be hot enough to where you don't want to necessarily touch it and burn yourself. All right, when you're opening this up, I use a pair of tongs just because you do not want to catch that steam coming off. It will burn you fast. Let's see if we can't get it undone. Look at that. Oh yeah, that smells so good. You can definitely still smell that hot sauce in there. And that's what you want. You still want some liquid in the bottom. That means you didn't leave it in too long. I've had it before where if you leave them on too long, that liquid evaporates completely and you end up burning your ribs. So that is definitely not what you want. You don't want to burn your ribs. All right, and I can already tell you that these are going to be super tender. What we're going to do is we're going to get these back on our smoker. And what I do is, because it's so tender, I normally will bring either 2 sets of tongs or another spatula with me, just that way I can get both ends. What I do is I try to just grab them up. What we're going to do is we're going to set these right on our smoker. I'm going to set these off to the side right here. I'm not setting them directly over my grill grate because a good chance is that we're going to have some drippage when we put the other stuff on, and I don't want that going down into the fire. So what we're going to do now is we're going to baste. We're gonna start off, here we go, we got our bowl of sauce and we're just gonna start with a spoon. I'm just gonna run that down the middle. Let me adjust that camera so you guys can see. All right, we're gonna move over and use our basting brush. Just makes it a little easier. We're just gonna glaze these ribs up. There we go. Alrighty, another hour. And then we'll pull them off. All right, y'all, we just pulled them off the smoker. 5 hours in, and they look amazing. We just pulled them off, finished glazing them up that hour, let it get real nice and tacky. And so we pulled them off and they're ready to go. I'm gonna show you guys what they look like final product, but this recipe is by far just amazing. We'll see what it tastes like here in a few seconds, but here's what it looks like after 5 hours in the smoker. So quick reminder, we did 2 hours uncovered with just our dry rub seasoning. Then we did 2 hours wrapped in aluminum foil with Coke and some Tiger Tail hot sauce. And then the last hour we did our 2 different barbecue sauces, glazed it over, let it sit in there for about an hour, catch a little more smoke in that barbecue sauce and get a little tacky, and we pulled them off. So let's give them a slice and see what they taste like. All right, let's give it a taste. So I just cut one off at the end. There you go. You can see it right there. Gorgeous color. I hope y'all can hear me over the smoker. The smoker's cooling down. Let's see what it tastes like. It's hot. It just came off the smoker. It's a different flavor than what I'm used to, but it's a very mild flavor. It's not super spicy. You would think that it'd be very spicy, but it's not. The chipotle honey, the sweet chipotle honey seasoning is delicious. And then the 2 barbecue sauces together really just add a nice sweet but tangy flavor on the outside. And you can't even really taste the hot sauce besides just a little bit of that flavor kind of imparted into the ribs themselves. I gotta try these again. Guys, look, they're just falling off the bone. You can't go wrong with the method that we did today. So guys, if you think you want to try this recipe, give it a try. Leave it in the comment section below. Let me know if you liked it, if you didn't like it. Leave the recipe that you use for your ribs. I love trying new recipes, would love to try out some of your recipes. So if you have a recipe that you want me to try, drop it in the comment section down below and we'll give it a try. But y'all, if you enjoy seeing these cooking videos, fishing videos, hunting videos, like always, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure your notification bell's turned on. That way you get notified when we post a video. We try to post on Tuesdays or on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So that's kind of the schedule that I try to stick to. But if y'all enjoy these videos, make sure you like and subscribe. That way you get notified. But y'all, like always, no matter what you're doing, whether you're in the outdoors or doing something else, just make sure you're all in. We'll catch you in the next one.